Hi, I'm Ben Ling, and welcome to Ben's Business Podcast, episode number 18. And today I've managed to grab Chris out of his busy schedule of running CMA, the Content Marketing Academy, which is a business that, rather than a digital marketing agency, they're teachers and educators of specifically content marketing and digital marketing, but the real focus is content marketing, hence the name. You also run a yearly conference where you've had speakers like Chris Ducker, Anne Handley, and this year in 2018, for June, you've got Chris Brogan coming.
That's right, yeah.
And you also run this popular Content Marketing Academy online community, and it seems to be a lot of members in there talking about digital marketing where people share their knowledge. So rather than me introducing yourself, why don't you tell us who you are, Chris Marr?
Yeah, sure. Pretty much covered it all there, I think. Yeah, so we call the Content Marketing Academy as the business, or CMA. We've been in business for about 5 years now, 5 years this year. We've got quite a lot of different things going on. But in the main, we transitioned from a small agency into a membership organization about 1.5 years ago, full time. But we've been building it for about 2.5 years, something like that. So we transitioned from agency work into membership stuff. We'll talk about that later on probably, and why I did that. And basically I'm a teacher, a teacher of adults. And I teach. Content marketing is obviously in the title, the name of the business, and I guess it's a common misconception with content marketing anyway. But we teach sales and marketing. That's what we teach. We teach business growth, sales, and marketing. That's what content marketing is all about. So we work with predominantly entrepreneurs, business owners, and marketers, both in-house marketers and freelance marketers, to teach them how to grow their business, their enterprise or organization. And we work with businesses of all different types and sizes, B2C, B2B, large, national, international businesses, as well as your solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, teaching them how to use the principles of content marketing to grow their business, get more traffic, more leads, more sales, more profits. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. We can't just teach content marketing without talking about how does content marketing grow your business. So it's kind of like a very all-encompassing teaching organization that we run, all based around the core principles of content marketing and world-class communication.
Okay, yeah, it's a good summary. So you seem to do a lot, and it's all focused around content marketing. I would like to know, as well as the business, but more your personal, on a deeper level, your mission and what it is that you're trying to do with content, the CMA, but everything that you do as well, Chris.
Yeah, so there's a lot it's a big-ish question, I suppose, but I guess one of the big things for me running a business, is you kind of touched on it, is that everything is to do with content marketing teaching, business growth, sales, that sort of stuff. So everything that I do is always with that one intention. So what I call that, or a way that we look at our business model, is a congruent business model. So it might seem like I do a lot, but everything I do has a multiple ways to grow the business, right? So speaking might lead to membership, might sell a ticket for an event that we do. They might come to a workshop, or they might ask me to speak at their, from an event that I'm speaking at, to go speak in their organization to run a workshop. Might join the membership, or members might join the membership and then want me to speak at their event or whatever, So everything kind of like works in together. And part of like working from home and running a business from home, to grow and scale a business that you want to keep small in terms of team size, is all about making sure that whatever you do has the most effective impact on your business possible. So there's no room for wasting time on stuff that doesn't matter. In terms of I'm a dad, there's 4 kids in this house. I want to make sure that whatever we do allows me to spend more time with my family. So I want to work more. I want to sort of work less, and allow my business to make more in terms of profits and money and all the rest of it. So there's a whole big piece in there about having a congruent business model, which is really important to me. And having this vision of having a business that doesn't need team members to run, that's completely scalable without a team. And when I say without a team, I don't mean like I want to run it all myself, but automation systems, and we have got another employee that does a lot of administration work for me, And that's the kind of people I'm happy to have employees like that, where we can run a business and we can scale a business, but it needs very little in terms of human. Like the human need is very small. The human resource is very small, because I want to run a scalable business, right? So there's that's a big factor, why I do what I do, is to think about my lifestyle first. Like, what kind of life do I want to have? What kind of work do I want to do? And how do I create a business that supports the work that I do best and the work that I enjoy the most, and actually make enough money to have a life as well, and to live and to have a prosperous life, right? So there's all of that kind of good stuff in there. And as far as like the actual purpose of the business, it's kind of like been, I don't know, anyone will get this, has started a business will know that the vision doesn't change, but perhaps like elements of the vision changes. Like, you're always like, for me, I have always wanted to be useful, right? So a very sort of high level, I've just wanted to be useful to people. Like, I had a lot of friends who were like joiners and plumbers and stuff like that. And I always felt like they're really helpful people to know in your life, right? They can kind of help you with stuff in your day-to-day life. I just thought, really, whatever I want to do, I want to add value, I want to have an impact. And this is one of the major reasons I moved from being an agency to a membership organization and kind of focusing more on impact as a teacher. Because I think like teaching is like one of the highest levels of learning and impact that you can make in the world, is to teach. And it also impacts you greatly as a teacher as well in terms of learning. So one of the highest levels of learning, one of the highest impacts or greatest impact you can make is as a teacher. So I felt really strongly about that. And there's one situation that I was in my office when I had an office and we were trying to build out this agency and get clients and stuff like that. And I was standing at my desk, kind of, I don't know what I was doing. I think it was like writing content or editing content or doing something. And I was like, my client doesn't care about this work that I'm doing right now. This is ticking boxes. They've outsourced this work to me, and I'm just like a tick box exercise. And I was like, I'm not making anywhere close to the biggest impact I could be making on the world. So I decided that was the day I was like, we're stopping this. I'm not going to do any more agency work. I want to teach, and I want to teach more people in the time that I have. So if I've got an hour to teach, I want to teach as many people in that hour as I can, rather than only doing work for one organization or one person. And there's some organizations that are willing to learn, that want to grow, that want to do personal and professional development. And there's some organizations that just want to outsource the stuff and tick the box and spend the money. And those are not the people that I want to work with. I want to work with people that feel like they've got an amazing product, they've got an amazing service, and they're frustrated because they aren't making their big impact on the world. They're like, I should be reaching more people. I should be working with better people. I should be getting better customers. And what we teach, content marketing, sales, business growth, what we teach is to help people to do that. So my sort of vision, my mission is to kind of to do all of those things, right? So I'm getting something from it. So my professional and personal development is growing. Like, I am, as a teacher, pushing myself all the time. Like, I do a lot of live training and coaching and workshop stuff, either in person or online. And every single time I do that, I'm pushing myself as a teacher to learn. And to be honest with you, learning isn't for me. I think anyone that learns at a deep level is learning because they want to share it with other people. I think that gives you purpose. So as a teacher, like, understanding the philosophy of a good teacher is to learn to share with others, right? And have greater impact on the world. So that for me is a big, big factor. And also that learning, impacting other people, and, even at like a surface level, foundation level, is to help them grow their business. But it goes way deeper than that. Not only to grow their business, be more successful, have more money, have a lifestyle, have more time with their family and their friends. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of like has this knock-on effect. So my purpose is about the personal lives of the people that we impact, but it comes through helping them to build an enterprise or an organization that they can be proud of and is making a big impact on the world as well. So there's loads in there. Like, it's all about impact and development and learning and teaching. And my mission is to kind of bring all of that together onto a platform that allows me to do all of that without me breaking myself and having a negative impact on my own life. So it's going to try to get all of that stuff working together. I think we're living in an age now where you don't have to follow the conventions of business. You don't have to have a telephone system and you don't have to have an office. You don't have to have, it doesn't have to be the way. You don't have to have a team of people. You don't have to scale a team. You don't have to have big fancy offices. You can build a large financially successful, profitable business from your own home with an internet connection. And it doesn't have to be like who you're trying to impress, right? Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, if I could be famous in my own house, that would be perfect for me, you know. And doing all these other things are like a choice. It's a choice. It's completely, it has to be voluntary. You know, there's certain elements in my business. There's even some elements of my business right now that are not voluntary anymore, because I've built a business and I've tied myself into some things I can't get out of for a while. And that really frustrates me, knowing what I know now. If I would go back in time and tell myself 5 years from now, just make sure what you're doing is a voluntary action. Everything you're doing is because you want to do it, and it helps you to build your vision, or your mission, as you called it, right? Which is to have a good life that's not dependent on me having to do work that I don't want to, you know.
Yeah.
Building a business that I can be proud of and I want to be part of is really important. You've got to be happy at work, right? So whether you're in a job or whether you're running your own business, you have to say, you know, you want to come to your work and say, I love doing this. This is a great part of my work. I love doing it. You don't get to like everything that you do, but, you know, in the main, it's good if you like most of it and you can be proud of the work you're doing. So yeah, being happy, being positive, you know, all those things.
Yeah, so that's like I see you as a person with lots of energy. You've been the consistent person out of people I do watch online. Like I do watch your content, Chris, and I might not be like one of these people like every one of your videos, but I have watched you throughout the years because I'm doing my thing and you're doing your thing, and I do see that you're very consistent and passionate about what you do. So I was very interested to learn about that and how other business owners who are watching this can adopt that. And that does explain a lot of it, that you're looking after yourself first. And that's where it all flows through. Because if you look after yourself, you're not, like you're saying, doing things that you don't want to be doing like a couple of years down the line where you're held in, stuck in your business.
Yeah. I mean, like even my customers are not even on the top of the list, right? They're important. They're really important in my business. But first of all, it's me, and then it's my partner, and then it's my kids, and then it's paying the mortgage and having a home and all of those things. And then, you know, it's important to look after other things as well. Like you've got to really, really think about what your priorities are in life. And I think a lot of the time, especially as an entrepreneur and as a business owner or a business person, I think you sometimes get really wired into your business and you lose track of what's really important in your life. And, you know, you think to yourself, well, what would be, if you were to kind of die to, like, if you're on your deathbed, you know, what would you say would be your biggest regrets? And you don't want one of your regrets to say, I should have spent more time with my kids, or, you know, I should have spent more time with my family, or whatever it was. So you've got to kind of think like it's the opposite way around, as most people would like. I think, you know, if you're listening to people like Gary Vaynerchuk and you're watching those types of like Grant Cardone or whatever, right? I don't listen or watch any of that anymore. Like I don't consume any content. I don't even listen to many podcasts anymore, because I want to create more and look after myself first and my family first, and then the other stuff can come after that. Working 14 hours a day, all that stuff's great for some people, but it isn't for me. I don't want to work any more or any harder than I already do. In fact, I want to work less going forward than I do already, and figure that challenge out. It's like a lot of people think to scale a business, to scale themselves, just work harder. I'm 37 years old this year, right? I sometimes feel 37 years old, and I'm like, I don't want to work any harder. I want to work less. I want to have a business that supports that model. Is it possible? Yes, of course it's possible. But it's also possible to just work your whole life and completely miss the whole thing. So, and I don't want to be part of that model. I don't want to be part of that convention. And I'm not just deliberately trying to do it to be different. In fact, I'm not doing it to be different or to be famous or to be a celebrity, because these are all distractions. All of those things are not good for business. You know, people say you need to have a personal brand, you need to be famous, you need to be creating video, you need to be like creating more content than your competition. Like, why? Why do you need to do that? Surely it's about enough content that's a good quality to attract the right people to do business with you, that want to spend money with you. That's enough. You don't have to do any more than is enough to run the business. Doing more is not a strategy. It's not a strategy. And I think, and people say to me, oh, I need to be louder, or I need to people like I need to do more to be like noisier for awareness or whatever. And it's not about that. It's about reaching the right people with the right message at the right time. So like there's a ton of stuff in there. I could go on and on. As you can tell, I'm ranting on here. But at the end of the day, it comes back to this lifestyle choice that you're making first and foremost. Like a big influencer in this space for me is someone like James Schramko, right? He's got it. He is someone that a lot of people haven't heard of, right? But he's got a multi-7-figure business. He goes surfing every day. He travels the world because he wants to get the, I don't know what they call it in the surfing world, but he travels the world so he can get to the beaches, right? So he's like, well, where's the best place to surf at this time of year? Let's go there. And I'll run my business from there. And he's been doing that for 10 years or something like that, right? So he's like a massive influence of mine, has been for a couple of years. And
what's his name, sorry?
James Schramko. He runs a business called Superfast Business. He's got a business book called Work Less, Make More, right? And it's really a significant book. Absolutely worth reading. It's a short read, but it's really, really practical, and it's got full of great advice. And the biggest lesson in it is just coming to terms with the fact that it is possible to run a business like this. You don't have to do it the way that it's always been done before. Even if you're running like something traditional, like I don't know, a manufacturing company, right? You know, it doesn't have to be like the big factories and all that kind of stuff that used to be. It can be drop shipping. It could be all online. Who knows? But the point is that you've got to think first about you and your lifestyle and the type of things that you want to do in your life that make you happy. And then how you support, if you're an entrepreneur or business person, how you build a business around that. You know, make that your challenge. It's relatively easy to work. It doesn't take much brain power and thinking to work 20 hours a day, right? You're just like, I'll just work more. I'll just work longer. That's not a solution to a challenge, I don't think. It's not a smart solution to a challenge.
Yeah, so think how you can work smarter rather than just 10x it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, totally. And I think a lot of business entrepreneurs and things like that do get wrapped up in this whole like celebrityism stuff that's going on just now, especially with like Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk and all these people. Like, you know what intrigues me the most? I know we would want to talk about Start With Why and Simon Sinek, right? So Simon Sinek's a great example of this. You don't see him at every conference. He's not creating a ton of content. He writes his books. He gets to the conferences he's supposed to go to, the big events that he works with the military and all that kind of stuff, right? He intrigues me the most because he's quiet. Because he doesn't say a lot, right? And you know why? Because he's in the background. He's working on something really important that's going to change or impact as many people's lives as possible. He's not interested in celebrity. He's interested in impact, passion, and value and quality. Those are important metrics of success rather than how many YouTube subscribers he has. Yeah,
it's a different way of thinking on, rather than like you're saying, Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, is a lot of us are talking about, is about legacy and like not living for this moment now. It's like living for later almost, and rather than looking after yourself. Yeah, I agree with that. It's like I admire Tim Ferriss for that reason as well. He has small, impactful launches of things that he does, and then he disappears for a wee while and does something important, like you're saying.
Yeah, Tim's a good example as well, definitely.
Yeah, because he comes back with something, but he disappears and goes out of the scene for a long time and comes back with a big blast,
Yeah, something important, something that makes a big impact. And I think, you know, I do believe this is like a lot of people want to have a mentor or someone that inspires them or motivates them. Just be really, really careful about who you choose that person to be. You know, that because they do influence you. We're all very influential. That's what we are as humans. We're impressionable, right? People's traits and behaviors and mannerisms and behavior rub off on us quite easily, and we start finding ourselves turning. I'm no different than other people. I think choosing to listen to the right people, follow the right people, take advice from the right people, you know, is really, really important. It's like the number one thing to choose is to choose those people really, really well. You know, alive or dead, you know, it doesn't matter, but just choose them really carefully. And I think you because that's, again, it's like whatever goes in is kind of what comes out. It's like
Yeah.
garbage in, garbage out. Same sort of philosophy, right? It's just really really choosing who you hang around with, who influences you, choosing that carefully.
Yeah, I agree. And is on top of what's James Sharmico, who else influences you in the business
James
field, or
Shamko's
just
like,
in how we
yeah,
live? Yeah,
as a business person, like James is great. Like I love like Dan Norris. They're both Australians, coincidentally. Dan Norris is cool. I mean, doing different things with different businesses. Influences, yeah. So I've got quite a few. I mean, like I'm not trying to have a dig at people like Gary Vaynerchuk or Grant Cardone or whatever. I'm just saying, like, you've got to be aware of. Just be aware of it. Like, make sure it's a voluntary decision you're making to follow and to listen and to let it come into you, right? There's loads of great stuff. Gary's amazing, right? Don't get me wrong. I am a big fan. I've been to all his book launches in London, apart from the last one, and met him a whole bunch of times. And in fact, his book Crush It, the original book that he wrote, had a massive influence on me when I was starting my business. It's like at the right time. It was the right thing for me to hear at that time. So Gary was a big influence on me back in 2009, 2010 when I wrote my first blog article and started my first blog and got into social media and all the rest of it. Ryan Holiday, I'm a massive fan of Ryan Holiday's work. I'll read, if he publishes an article, I will stop what I'm doing and read it, and bookmark it. So Ryan Holiday's stuff, The Stoics, is really good as well. I know that Tim Ferriss is big into that stuff too. I'm trying not to be totally influenced by someone like Tim, and try and, like, this is one of the lessons I've definitely learned, is like when you pick up a book, like I've got Letters from a Stoic lying on my desk here, is to kind of carve your own journey through the learning. So instead of taking the book recommendations from Tim, is like pick the book that you want to read and then go to the references in the back and find the next book to read, and like have your own path to follow in terms of learning. I think rather
than the reading lists that we're provided with.
Exactly. Like I'm a marketer, like through and through, love marketing, love sales, love business development. I cannot read, and I do not want to read another book about marketing. People send me their books, and I just do not want to read another book about marketing. I'm not remotely interested in what I can find in a book on marketing that I can't. And already, I'm not saying I know everything, but I certainly know enough to go and find the right information from the right people at the right time. So for me, it's much more about, I think the word legacy is important, lifestyle, philosophy, personal development. I think those things at a higher level, or a deeper level even maybe, are more important. So yeah, I get like really interested in a lot of people. I think one of the things I learned from Ryan Holiday is to really embrace like instead of trying to read lots of books from lots of different people, try and pick your key writers, like someone who is an amazing author and writer, and just like consume all of their stuff, from start to finish, and read it often as well. You don't have to be constantly reading different writers and different authors all the time. Yeah. Like you can go back to old pieces that really inspire you, and I do that often as well. So I think you just got to just choose where you're getting your information from and your content from, whether it be reading or listening or watching. So yeah, Ryan Holiday is like my number one at the moment. I love Ryan's work. But we talked about Simon Sinek briefly. I followed Simon for a long, long time. Taught Start With Why in my old job, which was, I left that job in 2011. So it's like 7-8 years ago now. And just I love that sort of stuff, the stuff that really helps us to be better people. It's not tactical. It's not even practical. It's kind of like takes a bit of time to really take it in and let it kind of come out of you in whatever way that might be, I love those sort of lessons, things that really impact us at a deeper level. And it takes a bit of time to really sort of come through. So I think those are like my top. Ryan Holiday, I love through and through, all his writing. So if anyone's listening to this or watching this and they've not dug into Ryan's work, then you absolutely, you ought to, you ought to check out.
Yeah, I've seen his interview with Gary Vaynerchuk, and I've seen him with Tim Ferriss a couple of times, but I actually was sent his book, Obstacle is the Way, that I've not read any of his books yet. And I've read quite a few books.
Obstacle is the Way is
Yeah.
Absolutely get stuck into that. It's not a difficult read. And in fact, when you're feeling like, if you feel like you've got a current challenge or something that's really stopping you from moving forward, it's a great book to read. Like, I've dipped into that book many times when I've felt like there is an obstacle in the way. And I'm like, well, how do I, and reading the book kind of, it just inspires you to like the only way to make progress is through the obstacles. So it's a great book. Love it. It's really, really good stuff.
That's the theme of the book, is going through the obstacles. Yeah.
Yep. Through. Yep. Exactly.
I was going to ask you more about Start With Why, but kind of covered that, like what, sure. How you're kind of embedding the principles of that into your life. The other thing that I picked up on just there is that you tend to think differently from the average marketer or business owner, and how you're structuring things and how you create things. Like, you're a creative person. How do you become more creative and unique and bringing out products of your own? How do you think like that?
How do you think like that? Is there a process? Now, I wouldn't say I am a creative person. So so it's interesting to hear that, right? So like, unpack that a little bit. So I would say that I'm not a creative, in that I'm not a graphic designer. I'm not a web designer. I can't draw for shit. I am not creative. I love brands. Like, you can see some of that in the video here. Like, I love brands. I love Apple. I love cool stuff, I do like all that kind of stuff. So I am like creative kind of minded in a way. Like, I can appreciate creativity and I love everything about it, but I wouldn't say I can't put my hand to something and create something cool. So I think the best place to go with this question is into writing, probably.
Yeah, that's your like what you come up with workshops, your confidence, your business ideas. That's what I mean by
right. Okay. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
So the other way to take this then in that case, and this the other sort of path was to, and I think this is the answer to this question, I think so anyway, is in order to be more creative, to create the products or the services and even content and marketing, and to understand what to sell and how to sell it, the number one way to do that, and this is why I don't think I'm a creative, I think, is because the only reason I've done all of this is because I listened to my customers, right? And I know that sounds like the most obvious thing you can say. Like, someone says to you, like, how can I be a better marketer? It was like, you've got to get in tune with your customers. You've got to put yourself in their shoes, have empathy and compassion for your prospective customers. But honestly, everything I do, it comes from that core. It's all about listening and understanding your customers better than anybody else in your industry, to provide them with the right products and the right services and the right content that solves their problems and answers their questions. That is where my creative comes from.
Okay. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, there's other things that happen after that, like, all the technology and the tools and the software and the applications and, actually putting it into practice. But really, the creative element all starts with being as close to my prospective customers as I possibly can be, and listening to them and delivering what they need. Okay.
And on top of that, like, one of the examples I actually had for that is I was just stalking you today because I knew I was going to be doing this interview.
I knew someone was stalking me.
So I came across your Instagram story today. You said something along the lines of, like, the reason that you don't follow people on Instagram or on social media is because they tend to just quote other people. And that's kind of where I got the idea from, that you're creative, or you have your own philosophy.
Yeah, so
very unique from other people.
Exactly.
And how do people, rather than quote other people, come up with their own version of it, or not even their version of it, but just comes through you, if that makes sense?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So
avoid quoting other people.
Absolutely. So like, this is good. This is better. It follows on from this last question, I think, really, really well. So as a creator, the reason that you could call me a creative is because I create stuff, right? So that's like anyone that's a big Jim Rohn fan will understand this as well. Like, he always talks about production. Like, if you want to have an impact on the world, produce and produce to the max, right? So produce as much as you can, have a greater impact on the world, right? So production's important. And what that really means for today's, or this conversation, is to create, right? In order to create something. So creation is not, the way that I look at it, like, so we look at in the context of your question, which is like an Instagram, everybody listening to this will know what we're talking about, right? Instagram quote images, right? Don't get me started. So I hate them, and I won't follow someone back if I go to their profile and I just see that it's just quotes, right? This is like the most brainless type of marketing I have ever seen, is to take someone else's quote and post it on your profile. Like, anybody can do that. There's no differentiation at all. And the only reason you'll do it is because you want to get more followers, right? And that's it. It's like, there's no legacy in that. And there's no real, it's like the laziest form of marketing in my book. And I always feel like when I see somebody transition from sharing great images and other story-based images to doing quotes, I'm like, why did you do this? Now, if you go, exactly, and if you go, the thing is, if you go back far enough on my Instagram, you'll see this behavior. And it's not, I don't want to go back there and hide this, because this is a transition. This is you, or me even, going through this, right? First of all, I thought this was a great idea. I'll share other people's quotes. And you know what? I used to put Jim Rohn's quotes on mirrors and my walls and stuff like that back home. And one day my stepdad said to me, Chris, when are you going to have your own quotes? And it was just a throwaway at the time.
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't until years later I realized that was just like one of the best things that you could, it's like, if he told me that now, I'd be like, well, yeah, that makes complete sense. I get it. Right. And that's where this comes from, is like creating your own ideas and your own philosophy, and having your own opinion about things as well is really, really important. It's not about what Gary Vaynerchuk said or whoever your hero said. You shouldn't, I don't think it's good to look up to these people. I think you should live up to them instead. Like, if they were hovering over you all the time, would they guide you in the right direction? Would they make sure that you weren't doing something wrong or any wrongdoings? I think that's more important. And the whole creation thing, the creation piece that you're talking about on Instagram, was really from a point of, this isn't going to happen overnight. I think you do have to create a lot. Like, I've been creating content for best part of 10 years now. And this is something that, and someone said this to me before as well, is like, I've got a unique perspective or point of view. I have an opinion, but that just comes, a lot of it comes from trying a whole bunch of stuff and getting results from certain things. So the reason I'm able to kind of be so adamant and confident with results through content marketing is because I learned it, I practiced it, I taught it, and then I saw the results across the board, right? So now I can say 5 years later, this is exactly how you use content marketing to grow a business, and that's like, that just comes through over time. You can't just, I don't think you can just, it doesn't matter what age you are either. Like, you could be in your 50s and have learned nothing about what your philosophy is, or how your ideology, what you believe about the world. So I think there's nothing to do with age. It's all to do with your own personal development. And I hope that, like, if we stay friends and I talk to you 5 years from now, that I hope that I have some different opinions about myself now, that I can look back and say, some of that was just, it's what you thought at the time, which is great, but it was naive, or it was, embryonic, right? It was a start of something, and it needed to grow and it needed to develop. And that's that process that we're all on, right? Is to get better at all of that stuff. So I think when I'm talking about Instagram and quotes, I think I would much rather, and I still hate it, I'd much rather you shared your own quotes than somebody else's quotes, right? And that just comes from doing. It comes from activity, it comes from production, it comes from creativity, writing blogs, getting on stages, speaking to people, having conversations. It comes from all of that stuff. But I think the key is it comes from listening and to understanding people and their behaviors and why they do certain things, what works and what doesn't work about the world. And again, you can't rush something like that. There is no formula. You don't rush it. You just have to be open to the process. So the process is about developing your own mind and your own opinions about things. And back to some of the stuff we've talked about already, Ben, which is really just making sure you have the right inputs, the right stuff coming in, stuff that challenges you. Don't agree with everything that everybody says. Whoever you follow, challenge yourself to disagree with them, or challenge yourself to think differently than them, and come up and start to sort of develop your own philosophy, like your own beliefs about the world and the world that we live in.
Yeah, I disagree.
And the funny thing about that is people do say this online with me. It's like, I disagree with you, Chris. I'm like, great.
Yeah. I do agree with that, but yeah, I was just showing I was listening.
No, it's good. I think it's good for people to disagree. I think it's good to disagree, but I don't think it's good to do it deliberately, because I get a lot of that these days as well, especially online, is people deliberately picking fights with people because maybe they've got nothing better to do with their life or they're having a bad day. Is that you just have to, don't do it deliberately. Do it it has to be for some kind of purpose, not just to be argumentative or just to have a debate, but to actually have a worthwhile and valuable conversation. And I think a lot of that happens online now. It's a complete and utter disaster. I think if we were having these conversations in public and face to face, I think we would be a lot more compassionate and empathetic with each other. I think that's one thing that social media has really, not just social media, the internet in general has really lost for us. I mean, I love everything about the internet and social media, and but I think from a compassionate and empathetic perspective, I think if we were face to face with a lot of people, there's things we just wouldn't say and wouldn't do.
Yeah. People hiding behind their keyboards, and they feel on top of the world to just post whatever they think about something. But they wouldn't do it in real life.
Yeah, there's nothing that's going to come back to them. They're not going to get in trouble for it. No one's going to hold them accountable for it.
Yeah, it's dangerous, and I agree that there's nothing better than eye to eye with people, and it's much more real.
Even this dialogue is better, and I know we're not in the same room as each other, but it's as close as you can get.
Yeah, as close to the eye to eye as you can get, and you have much more meaningful conversations rather than your ego showing off in front of on the public internet, where that your sister's going to see this or whatever.
I think it's a lot of that showing off, and this, look back to the thing about trying to be famous or a celebrity or basically have a crack shot at someone so that you can have some sort of fame around something. I just don't think it's the way. It's total distraction, waste of time. Doesn't achieve anything really.
So we've only got maybe how long have you got? 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Okay, cool. I have a lot of questions just from what you've said.
Sure.
Really important parts, like you mentioned, like bits I wanted to touch on top of it, like
cool.
Wisdom has nothing to do with age. Is a really a good point, because it's a thought that went through my head recently as well, that we see people 50 years older than us, and I realize how much more I know than some people at that age, and it really makes no difference. And a lot of people hold themselves to their age in terms of what they're allowed to go and share in terms of their own opinion.
Yeah.
And I would also agree that we should never hold back based on our age for that reason alone, because I know, without sounding cocky, that I'm much wiser than a 90-year-old out there from my own personal development I've went through.
Yeah, the number doesn't mean anything. Like, the age doesn't track wisdom or knowledge. It tracks like how, it simply is tracking your body dying over a period of time. It doesn't actually track your mind, right? Your mind can stay sharp and it can stay fresh, unless you get some degenerate disease, then hopefully what's going to happen is your body might deteriorate, but your mind doesn't. And you want that to grow and grow stronger over time. And you're right, and there's no perfect age to start development. You're never too old either, I would say. Like, in most cases, in fact, in all cases, your best years are ahead of you. I think it's a really good perspective, because a lot of people that we work with sometimes in workshops or for speaking on stages, they're like, I'm in my 50s, I've not got time for this, or like, I feel like, I'm running out of time. I'm like, well, your best years are ahead of you, right? That's a fact. And hopefully you're not going to die tomorrow, and you've got your best years ahead of you yet. So you've still got plenty of time to develop and to improve. You just got to find out why. You just got to know why you're doing it, right? So that comes back to the why, the vision, the mission. I think the wisdom is the key. You know, you can go to the gym, you can do the weights, you can make your body look powerful and stuff like that, but that's not exercising the mind. And I think that's far more powerful. And you should be doing both. If you want to have a healthy life, you should have a healthy body, of course, but not a dad bod like me. You know, so I think like there's a balance in there, but I think you're right. You know, a lot of people, my dad said this to me before, he says, you could be a child and you could be in your 60s. The day you're an adult is when you take total responsibility for your life and the actions that you take. And that's being an adult. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about wisdom, and age is not a factor.
No, yeah, I agree.
It's not a determining factor.
No, it's definitely not. Like I'm mentoring someone just now who, well, they called me their mentor and they're 60 years old. And that's just another way.
Yeah, we all have different sets of skills. We all have different knowledge bases. You know, it's not about age. It's not about ego, you know, so even it's not, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, so, you know, even like, I haven't even thought about it, but like the same for you, for me, is that a lot of people in my community are older than I am, but I've never thought about it. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's not even, it just no. Doesn't matter. It's not even.
It's consciously in people's mind that that's one of the things that hold them back, the age. So it's
but a lot of people
out there.
Flip the coin as well on this, right? And I've had this before, is people think I've said to me before that they felt like I was too young, right? So, but you've got to kind of peel back the onion a little bit and think, well, why do they think that? Maybe they feel like they want to learn from someone that's older because they feel like age is a factor. Like, think about when you first started your business, people don't take you seriously, right? Because you're younger. But is it because you're younger or because they just don't know you well enough yet?
Yeah.
You know, so like there's a lot of factors in there. I think age is like, it can be discriminated upon people who are young and older. And I think there's no better, you know, better advice or a better time to really get to know people properly before you start to judge them based on their age, especially, or what they look like, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And you also mentioned about results are the reason, almost the conclusion of how you come up with your own thing. And I can see that through my own experiences as well. Not just results, but also my failures and successes. And they are the results of action. Yeah,
failure's a result. It wasn't the result you were expecting, but I think results are not like this is the important thing about results, I think, as well, is that they're good to get, but they shouldn't determine like who you are. I think they allow you to be more confident in the kind of advice that you give, or how you know, maybe not just advice, but even just helping people to direct themselves, you know. And there's things you can be really confident about. It's just kind of timing right, like everything. It's timing, the right advice at the right time for the right people who are ready for it, like being able to judge when people are ready for that advice as well. But results help you to be more confident, I think, in delivery of said advice, which in confidence, self-esteem, those things are a major factor, I think, when we're trying to build something like a business or be an entrepreneur or a business person. I think you need to have an element. It's not about ego. It's about self-confidence and self-esteem. And I think people can see that confidence. So this person is really sure of themselves, and they're confident in their delivery and what they do. And I think people can believe. I think people can trust people faster when they can see that self-belief and that self-confidence without it getting to the point where you're like, you know, I'm amazing, you look at me type of thing. I think that then goes into ego and the celebrityism that we see, I think, in marketing especially.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we've got time for.
I could take like one or two more questions if you've got them, and then we could sign off.
Okay. So one of the important things, like as I explained before our call, is that the point of this podcast, Ben's Business Podcast, is it's nothing to do with the book club. I do share it in the book club, but it's the main reason it exists and why I started it is to help other people who have started a business or are 5 years into their business. How do they grow their business? And obviously your skill is, well, you've done conferences, you've done workshops, you've got your community, but your specialty is content marketing. It doesn't really matter, but like what's the most common question and problem that you find in that community, and what's your answer to it? So obviously, what's the most common question first, and two, what would be your usual answer to that?
Yes, strictly about business growth. I think a lot of people, most common question, right? Get a lot of these.
Along the lines of how, what would be
I would
valuable to
say the most
viewers or
challenge, the biggest challenge, I could say the biggest challenge people are having right now is to figure out how to turn people on their website into leads, right? That is by far the biggest challenge, is converting traffic into leads and sales is by far the biggest challenge. So what we teach obviously leans directly into that. So that's their biggest challenge. The way that we advise that people solve that is through content marketing. So people who are writing blogs, recording and publishing videos and podcasts and things like that. Typically, if they've been doing that for a while and they're still struggling to turn their traffic into leads, is because they're creating the wrong type of content, unfortunately. It's not geared towards their prospects. Usually people create content for their peers, and the content that they create doesn't help their customers to make an educated buying decision. And this really, when you peel it back and you get back to sort of the root problem, is because they've got a misunderstanding of content marketing, and therefore they've been misguided in education, which then leads to them not putting it into practice properly and then not getting the results that they were looking for. So what we kind of come back to is we really need to make sure that you are listening to your customers, understand them better than anybody else, and then you're creating content that doesn't make you famous in your peer circles, but helps your customers to make an educated buying decision. So I would say that's like a core group or selection of challenges that we have in the community, is getting people, first of all, to understand how important it is to create the right content from the start. So planning, research, education, like not doing any content yet and getting them to really understand the process and the strategy, and then from the start. So that's something that we've learned across a lot of the years, Ben. You go back 4 or 5 years and we were starting in the middle. We were getting people to do content right away, like move fast. And now I'm saying move slow. I'm like, change entirely about the way we do things. So come back now to education, research, planning, strategy, and then we can create the content. Because I know that when you do it that way, it's going to have a far greater impact on your business and help your business to grow. And that's the day of age that we live in. I mean, we live in 2018. This is 2018 now. People are searching and using and finding information online before they contact businesses for the first time. They're making their buying decision online before they contact businesses. So there's never been a more important time now to create content. And I'm not saying any type of content, I'm talking about creating content that drives sales. So that's our focus. It's our number one challenge, is that, I think, and it's sort of like, to finish that part off, really is, how does content marketing lead to sales? How does something like a blog drive customers? How do we make that work? How do we make sales from it? And that's what we teach. It's the biggest challenge that we have, and we're dealing with it every day.
Okay, so it's strategic, planned content rather than just a massive content and noise, like we're referring back to what we talked about before, really.
If you really wanted the sort of simple answer to that, it's sales. It's a sales strategy is what we teach. We teach how to develop a sales strategy that uses content
at the forefront. Right, okay.
Content is what drives the sales. Content marketing is a sales strategy, is a sales process. A lot of people don't appreciate that's really what it's there for. It's to help your customers to make an educated buying decision, making sure you time it right, take them through the process, so that when they come to make a buying decision, they've got all information they need, they feel confident, they trust you, and they want to do business with you. That's what it's all about.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen that. It's like, I get phone calls. I use the things I've learned from yourself in content marketing and through experience of learning. I've been doing content marketing subconsciously for a long period of time on YouTube, and I've always been putting YouTube videos up there, and a lot of the times when I make a sale from the people who are watching my YouTube content, they know my name, they know everything about me, and they say, Ben, how do I go ahead and buy a website, or how do I go ahead and how do you do marketing for me? And it's like, basically, they jump from what that initial sales meeting that a salesman has to do, knocking on someone's door. It skips all of that, and they jump right to trust. And once you've got that trust and an educated prospect, the sale just happens like that. And I've seen that happen. They know my name, they call me, and that it's already sold.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, there's only upside to content marketing. There's no downsides to content marketing at all. That's why I really believe in it, and it is a great part. It should be part of every sales process at a strategic and commercial level. And that's like I said, that's what we teach. That's the challenges we're dealing with every single day, is to help people to do more of that, speed the sales process up, make it more slick, make it more valuable, get better customers. All of that stuff is brilliant. It works. It works. What can I say?
Yeah, it's a great thing to be teaching people, because it does work, and then I use it myself, and my customers use it. So, one last question, if you've got time for it.
Let's do it.
I noticed that you've been teaching parts of search engine optimization as well. I would like to know your take on it in terms of like how content marketing affects SEO, and your point of that in terms of thinking about content marketing first and then search engine optimization. How do they work with each other?
So my take on this is that, try to make this as simple as I can. So let's take the phrase content marketing, right, as two words: content marketing. And let's split them into two. So we've got content, and then we've got marketing, right? Content is like blogs, videos, podcasts, content we're putting out there, a rich source of content, right? That's the content. There is a lot of people creating content in the world, right? There's tens of thousands of blogs published every single day. The difference between content and content marketing is that someone can find your content when they've never heard of you before. That's the marketing part of it, right? So there's a lot of people doing content, but a lot of people aren't doing content and marketing, or together, content marketing. And SEO is the marketing part of that, right? So if you want your content to be found by people when they've never heard of you before, then you need to understand and have knowledge about how to do the right things with search engine optimization. So it used to be that SEO was like a separate discipline from marketing. Like you'd hire someone to do your SEO for you, both technical, on-page, off-page SEO, right? But now entrepreneurs and business people and marketers, in-house marketers and marketing freelancers have to have a good understanding of how SEO impacts content, right? And to put them both together, like I really believe in this, that content marketing is actually content and SEO. SEO is the marketing part of content marketing. So anybody that thinks they're doing content marketing and they don't know anything about SEO aren't doing content marketing. It's almost as simple as that. So I see the reason that this, I feel so passionately about this, is because a lot of people are putting a lot of time and effort and resources into creating content, and then saying to me, we've been doing this for a while, Chris, but we're not getting any traffic. We're not getting any, and therefore not getting any leads or sales through our content. It's like a waste of time. You know what, Chris? Content marketing doesn't work, and therefore we're not going to.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, well, actually, know why that is because like your blog titles aren't SEO. Like nobody can find it. You're talking about yourself all the time. They get it completely wrong, and they think they're doing content marketing because they think content marketing is about creating content. It's not. It's not about that. That's part of it. Yeah. So SEO is like so important when it comes to content marketing. And if you're creating a blog and you aren't thinking about SEO, you are missing at least half of your opportunity for that article to win when it's out there. It has to be discoverable. It's not the only way for your content to be found. I must add that in. But at the very start, when you're doing your content and you're about to hit publish, titles, subtitles, content, all that is so crucial. And I really do feel really passionately about that if you're not doing content marketing, if you are ignoring search engine optimization. And the number one reason that most people ignore SEO is because they've never had any results from organic traffic. That's the reason they're not doing it. And it's a real shame. So they're missing out. They're basically not giving themselves the best chance to win with their content. They're just creating it, ticking a box. We need to have fresh content. Someone said we need to have fresh content, so we better blog, and it's like it's a tick box exercise, but done, like back to my earlier conversation there, done very well. Content marketing will grow your business. It can be a really important part of a sales strategy. and a sales process, and it can grow your business, get you sales, get you customers, and it can work really, really well if it's done properly.
Yeah, I agree. It's very interesting to hear your point of view on it from a sort of content marketing first perspective, rather than my perspective from doing search engine optimization, being very involved in SEO first, if that makes sense. So it's like coming together.
It's like a catch-22. I mean, I don't think you can do one without the other.
No, you can't.
You can't do content without SEO. You can't do SEO without content. So like, I think more now than ever, both practices have come together. And for marketers, and when I say marketers, I mean entrepreneurs and business people and business owners, who are all marketers. Yeah. We need to understand that. It's not complicated. It's really not complicated. All you have to do is just look at your own buying behavior and figure out how you search for and use information to help you buy, right? And we're all consumers. So as a consumer, just think to yourself, well, how do I make sure I'm creating the right content and I can be found by people for my business? That's it. It's a bit simple as you could put it.
And like you say, if people can't discover it through just searching, so like one of the differences in marketing that I've seen as well is that we can market and we can grow, like you're using, you have a community to grow and tell people about the products within that community. You can tell them and they can go and buy the product. But in terms of new customers, a lot of the ways that they're going to find you is through searching, because they have a problem now and they go onto Google now with that problem or query and they search it and they find your content first if you're doing your SEO, search engine optimization, properly. So like there's two ways of building, like you say, in marketing. You can develop your customers and build the community and sell the products to your audience there. But there's another way of doing it and that's what I see SEO as, a way of bringing new customers through people having existing problems and looking to solve them, and you pop up first.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I think you're right to mention that there's a bit of a fallacy, I think, in a lot of business, because a lot of people do say to me, look, our biggest challenge is that we can't get any new customers. And I don't think it always has to be about getting new customers. You could be selling something to the customers you already have. So there's two elements or two strands there, making sure you are attracting new potential customers and that you are looking after properly. You're looking after your existing customers as well.
Yeah. And you seem to be doing the balance quite well there, with having a community as well as doing search engine optimization.
Yeah. The membership's really important for me. This is like the core part of our business. It's not just a community. It's these people pay money to be part of this every single. They're my customers at the end of the day. So making sure they're looked after. It's like any business, whether you're a manufacturing business, a B2B, a B2C business, whatever. We all do that. When we have a customer, we want to look after them and make sure this is for the best part, stay a customer for life in some way. Yeah,
it's a really good business model you've got going, and very admirable, and how you've actually implemented it and taken place. I'm actually reading the book you recommended to me, The Automatic Customer. I'm almost finished, but there's some very interesting points in there as well. But we could go on forever. There's more questions, I think, now than I did before we actually met.
Yeah, that's one of those things, right? We can catch up again sometime soon, yeah.
Definitely. So if you've got to go, I won't spend any more time, but that's been really valuable, Chris. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure the people listening or watching have learned a lot as well.
Cool. Well, that was good to catch up, Ben. Thanks for having me on your show. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So it'll be live on Monday.
Yep, that's fine, man. Yeah, just let me know when it's live.